Hi, my name is Rachelle Smith, entrepreneur, professional speaker, and author. Last time I introduced Jim Collins' wonderful classic book entitled Good to Great. Folks, I highly recommend that. It is a classic on leadership and management and has helped so many people over the years. And so again, to quickly recap, utilizing this example of a bus, all right? Number one, you want to make sure leaders, you want to make sure you have the right people on the bus. Okay, this could be the right people in your organization, in your business, in your company, in your corporation. Number two, you want to get the wrong people off the bus. So you want to get the wrong people that aren't aligned to your corporate goals, your business objectives. You want to get those people off the bus, so to speak, or out of your company, out of your business. And lastly, you want to get the right people in the right seats. And this last piece is so important because you can hire the absolute best of the best and superstars exclusively. But if they're not in the right roles based on their passion, based on their intelligence, based on their experiences and what they're looking for, career objectives, it is not going to be a good situation. Many companies, many businesses, many organizations have learned that the hard way. And that's why I just want to really hone in on this point. Having the right people in the right seats is so important. And folks, I spent 3 years, 3 wonderful years. I will always treasure that time as a member of Detroit SHRM. And what that stands for is Detroit Society for HR Management. And so I learned so much from those HR leaders and professionals and soaked up everything that I could. And, yes, I'm driven, I'm ambitious, and whatever, I'm intelligent, but also, as I've often stated, I've had some wonderful people cross paths with me and mentor me and pour their knowledge and wisdom and insights into me. And for that, I remain totally and eternally grateful. And so, folks, this concept of hiring and recruiting, because we all know hiring the wrong people is challenging, and getting rid of the wrong people, getting the wrong people off the bus is challenging. It can be expensive. There can be legal issues, liability issues, just all of that. All right. And so HR, human resources, and it's such an important function. And so it's so important when you're thinking about this concept of, again, having the right people in the right seats. And what I wanted to do is share an example actually of the most challenging, undercover, project that I have encountered so far. And it was actually a fitness facility. And of course, obviously I can't tell you any specific information, but what I want to do is share, why it was difficult and how that experience changed me. And again, just me, I'm always approaching things from a leadership perspective. And as I alluded to last time, the last couple of episodes, all right, objectivity is so important in terms of what I do. Again, I can be dealing with the nicest person in the world, but if they're not compliant, if there are liability issues, I've got to report that. All right, that's just fundamentally, what I do. So I've got to be objective, but I've also got to put myself in the other person's shoes and establish some empathy and try to understand where they're coming from. And I think those two particular keys are so important in helping me deal with this challenging situation, which happened earlier this year, actually. And so when I'm undercover, it's important for me to point out, all right, it can be have various objectives for that. And so one of the main objectives, very common objective, is compliance. So again, there are standards, there are rules, there's policy, procedures. Are those being followed? All right, but there are also situations very, very remotely that I will encounter a situation where I know I'm going into a situation that's problematic, gotta, just whatever. And so this was one of those situations where, members had complained to corporate. This was a franchise. Members had complained to corporate, and this was a situation going in. I knew it was a bad situation. So I knew that going in. It's not a matter of, are people doing what they're supposed to be doing? I already know these people are not. They're way off base in terms of compliance, and the franchise is in jeopardy here. And so, folks, just to quickly highlight some of the highlights, some of the just some of my thought processes and doing that. And I knew, again, going in, this was going to be a challenging situation. So, I prayed, Lord, help me to be objective, help me to be just understanding, help me to just not leave any stone unturned and unturned in terms of understanding what dynamics are at play here. And so I went in, and surely enough, just to borrow from the vernacular, it was a hot mess. It was an absolute hot mess. And again, in a scenario like that, yes, I'm obviously there on behalf of ultimately the company or the franchisor, or where it could be a corporation, home office, headquarters, whatever the case may be. You can describe it in many ways. But also in a situation like this, I'm there as an advocate for the members, okay, or customers in another scenario. But members, members were complaining. They were absolutely right. It was a hot mess, and it was very cut and dry. And this was a scenario where I could have gone in and just, okay, black and white, hot mess, whatever. It is what it is. But yes, that's absolutely true. I remain objective. Yes, that was certainly true. But the leadership, again, the leadership is what I do. So again, the leadership developer in me was curious. Okay, yes, this is a very bad situation, but why? Why? I'm always curious, particularly in an extreme, I'm always highlighting positive outliers, and in this case, a negative outlier. So you will never hear me mentioning the people in the situations in the middle. It's always negative situations or very positive situations. And so again, I'm thinking, why? Why is this going on? Why did anyone think this was acceptable? And so, could have spent 20 minutes and been in and out very clear, all right? But I actually ended up spending, almost about an hour and a half in that situation. So I worked out and I understood everything, every nook and cranny, and it was very interesting too towards the end. I'm watching a man and a younger guy. I guess the younger kid could have been about 12 or 13. And I was thinking, oh, this is so cool. You got a father and son in here working out. Okay, good. Family fitness. Gotta love it. But then I realized, and I read the back of their shirt, and I realized that person was not that person's dad, because the dad, what I thought was the dad, and the son were both borderline obese. But then I realized that was a trainer. And I swear, that is a very big pet peeve of mine, just from a leadership perspective, in terms of what I do. How can you emulate to someone else what you can't even achieve and accomplish yourself? But I digress on that. But anyway, so I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a trainer. So I'm sitting down for the first time ever in life doing seated bicep curls with free weights. So that was the first and only probably time you'll ever see me doing that. But I wanted to spend time and get perspective on everything that was going on. And so I'm dealing with this manager, the gym manager, and I'm, asking questions and just learning, kind of taking things in and learning about membership and how all of that. And what I quickly realized, and this is what made it so challenging. Yes, from a black and white perspective, objectivity, yes. Very non-compliant, very just messed up situation here. But as I'm dealing with this manager and I'm listening and I'm asking questions, testing, I realize this is an incredibly strong individual in terms of, number one, highly fit individual, a good leader, manager, representation of what fitness needs to be. But number two, industry knowledge, outstanding. Thirdly, competitive knowledge, outstanding. And I evaluate a lot of different salespeople across industries. And I would firmly say this has been so far the strongest salesperson I've encountered, period. So there's this dichotomy, and just quickly, and I'll share this on a different formal episode on sales, but what this person was able to successfully do, it's very hard to see people doing this, very rare. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to do this. This person was able to sell competitively against other gyms, meaning that, ask me what gyms I've been a member of and what gym I'm currently a member of, and it was able to sell against those gyms, including my current gym here in Michigan. Did an excellent job, in terms of selling against that gym, as well as other gyms, because I'm testing knowledge, because I know, but I'm trying to figure out what this other person knows. Knowledge was outstanding. You could pull this person outside this situation and they would double other gyms' memberships within a year, quickly, easily. Just very strong salesperson. I can't emphasize that. So very strong person in those regards. But then I'm asking a question like, wow, you're so passionate. You're so knowledgeable about fitness. How did you get into this? And then the person says, takes a break, takes a deep breath, sighs. Well, my parents owned it. So parents own, multiple locations, and this person, again, family business, was kind of thrust into it. And so I would argue, is one, again, from a leadership perspective, I've studied family-owned businesses and their strengths and their weaknesses and just some of the inherent challenges. I would say in terms of a family-owned business, this person was incredibly strong, probably the strongest person, like I said, I've ever seen from a family-owned business. Was driven, was highly competitive, knowledge was outstanding. I just can't emphasize that enough. So for me, there's this tension between, this is a jacked up situation, but what I'm dealing with here is the strongest person. Now, the cleaning lady at my gym in Novi, absolutely the strongest work ethic I've ever seen. Wonderful ownership mentality. But what this person lacked, incredibly strong, was an ownership mentality. And that's, again, when you study family-owned businesses and some of the idiosyncrasies, you will find that complacency, status quo, whatever. So I was like, man, if this person had, Sue's ownership mentality and work ethic, this would be one of the top 10 gyms in America, easily. All right, but so there was that lack of kind of ownership mentality, but also this person was very young, did not have the emotional maturity to be able to run a gym yet. This person would have made an outstanding assistant, but was not ready, because there's, in order to run a gym, in order to be any type of leadership role or position, like I said before, you've got to be able to handle conflict and confrontation. You've got to be able to deal with situations where, again, you can't have, and again, I can't reveal any information, but, you've got to deal with problems. You've got to, realize your business is a marketing tool. Your business is a marketing tool. So if I walk in and it's, the temperature's off, and if it stinks inside, and that's just a correlation. I mean, the same thing that happens in my gym. When it's hot in there, it stinks in there. And so again, there's different correlations of things, but when you're young and you've got, again, you're a people pleaser, and I know, because I used to be the same way. At that same age, if my dad would have been like, okay, Rachelle, I need you to run my gym. I need you to run this gym here. I would have been probably equally as weak in that role. Yes, passionate, yes, driven, yes, competitive, all of that, but just the emotional maturity, all right, to be mature, to handle conflict and confrontation, and to make sure my gym, or in that case, my dad's gym, my parents' gym, was top notch. And it just takes a level of commitment, of passion, of really leadership ability. And leadership is something that has developed over time. So that was a huge challenge for me, but I was able to integrate the two. And in the final analysis and the final evaluation say, yes, the situation was what it was, but, this person does not have, is challenged right now in terms of just being young and inexperienced. It doesn't have the emotional maturity to handle this role. This is actually the second time I've made that comment about someone in a role. They really were not, again, having the right seat, right person in the right seat. This person, yes, was needed to be in the fitness seat, was very strong, but in terms of being a manager, not yet. And in a situation, and you think about it from the member's perspective, again, as a leader, I've always got to consider various perspectives. From the members' perspectives, and they feel a need, and this is something for those of you who own franchises, you got to recognize. People these days will complain, and I will complain to corporate. We'll skip dealing with management, with all of that. Don't waste time with all of that. Okay, why? Because in this situation, I could picture myself in the member of this gym's, I could picture myself in their shoes saying, this is a family-owned business. They don't want to create situations where they're going to one of the parents complaining about their child, and what their child isn't doing. So see, that puts members in a bad situation, and so they didn't want to deal with that, putting a parent against the child and just causing any type of family conflict and drama, even though family-owned businesses are known for dysfunction and conflict on a general scale. Much research has shown that. But they didn't want to deal with that, so they went right to corporate, which I argue was the right thing to do. And so the situation was what it was, but again, from a leadership's perspective, and I'm so grateful for that experience to say, you know what, this person is outstanding. You could have pulled this person, put them in my gym's membership would double in 12 months. This person would be outstanding in another role that required accountability. All right, but in a family-owned business, and this is well known, where it's just the status quo and nobody's really pushing anybody, and it was clear, I wondered to myself, have the parents even been in this location? Yeah, you've got other locations, but the one that's struggling is the one that's owned by the child here, your child. All right, so do you ever even come to this gym? And this is something, again, where I don't care what you're managing, I don't care what you're leading, I don't care if you want a franchise or what, or if you've got remote people, you need to check up on your people. You need to spend time in your facility, because ultimately it's coming down on you. All right, and if you're a franchisee, again, your franchise contract can be in jeopardy. okay, for just nonsense and just, again, not holding people accountable. And that's going to be, yes, more of a challenge in family-owned businesses, but that's why it's always very important to have outsiders, good, strong outsiders that are not afraid of conflict, that will bring issues to the forefront, that will help you run and manage your business effectively, and not put you on the hot seat when it comes to corporate, put you in a situation where you could potentially lose your franchise. And so, again, folks, there were so many different lessons from this, but it was very challenging for me because you have this superstar employee, clearly so strong, so strong, so strong. I can't emphasize that enough. But also just did not have the ability, just leadership skills yet. All right, you need somebody that's confident in a leadership role, and we're all imperfect. But if your gym is a quote unquote, to borrow from the vernacular again one last time, if your gym is a hot mess, if your business is a hot mess, if you run Kentucky Fried Chicken and that's a hot mess, yes, it's a negative marketing for you because if people are coming in and dealing with nonsense and stuff, or there's all these problems, or machines aren't working and all of that, it just reflects bad upon you. And you do not want to be in a situation like where the folks that I'm dealing with, the companies and corporations that I'm dealing with, and even the franchisors, the headquarters, are no nonsense. Like this particular fitness chain, no nonsense. They don't care who you are. They don't care how long you've been in business. They don't care what your last name is. If you're mediocre, if you've got some challenge, you've got people complaining, they will shut you down if they need to. So just recognize, folks. It's just so many lessons I could share from this, but just wanted to highlight this one real quick. Next time, I'm actually going to talk about the importance of truth and leadership, candor and frankness, because again, that's something, you're an outstanding employee in this situation, but just not ready for this role yet. And there's negative consequences that are already obvious to members, me, or anyone else. And so, folks, I thank you so much for your time. Make it a wonderful day.